guys, Jessica from Cornerstone Physical Therapy. I wanted to make this little video to follow up on the Facebook Live event that we have done earlier about eccentric and concentric loading. And I want to show you some progressions with exercises for eccentric loading. So as a little refresher, concentric loading is when the muscle is being shortened. So if I was going to do a bicep curl, this is going to concentrically shorten my biceps muscle. And then with load, as I slowly lower that is going to eccentrically or lengthen the biceps as it is continuing to strengthen. So we want strength both concentrically and eccentrically when we are strengthening muscles and tendons to create more resiliency in the muscle. So I'm going to move the screen around a little bit so you can actually see what I'm doing. But I'm going to show you in relation to the ankle. So a lot of patients may experience some Achilles tendonitis or plantar fasciitis, and in these areas we want to eccentrically load the Achilles tendon to create more resiliency in this area of the body. So let me show you usually where we would start with the exercise progression and how you would make that harder as you further went into your exercise program, as you were having less pain and increasing strength. So I'm going to angle this down towards my feet and make sure everybody can see my feet. Okay, good. So I'm going to show you from behind. So if you're starting with an exercise progression and where we're going to start to strengthen the Achilles tendon, the first thing we want to look at is your concentric strength. So can you push up on both feet with equal height of the heels? Now, if you can do that for 20 reps, no pain, and everything's okay, great. Now we're going to move on to a single limb heel raise. So you're going to see where your strength is in your Achilles and in your gastroc, your calf muscle. Can you do 20 single limb heel raises? For demonstration purposes, I won't do all 20, but you're going to do that on both sides. And this is your baseline. If you can't do 20 of these, you probably need to start with a little bit more concentric strengthening initially, and then we'll work into some eccentric strengthening. Now, the concentric portion is extremely important, but when we start talking about eccentric loading, what does that look like? So you're going to go back for the beginning to raising up on both toes. Now at this point, you're going to lift your heel. Your painful side is going to remain down, and you're going to slowly lower your heel to the ground. So let's go through that one more time. You're going to lift up. You're going to place all your weight on the painful side that you're working on, and you're going to slowly lower. Now this is lengthening your Achilles tendon, taking it through eccentric load as you control your heel to the ground. From there, we want to see, okay, you can do up 2, down 1. Can we do up 1, down 1? So when you're thinking about your count times, you're going to go up for a count of 1, down for a count of 3. Same if you're on single limb. Up for a count of 1, down for a count of 3. Now to progress this in terms of the ankle, you're going to grab something that's going to elevate you up off of the ground so that your heel can drop lower. Angle this up just slightly so you can see. So now you're going to come on the edge of your step. You're going to do the same thing. We're going to start with up 2, and then you're going to shift over and eccentrically lower down to 1. Now I might want to get my feet a little bit closer to the edge. I don't have anything to hold on to, so if I fall off, sorry. And then you're going to come down on 1. If balance really seems to be an issue here, use something to hold on to with your hand so that you can control that up motion as you shift onto that one foot and go down. You can see I used my right foot there just for a second to kind of stabilize myself. In this position, you notice how my left heel is below my foot, below the step. This is placing my Achilles on an eccentric stretch, but as I was lowering from overhead, it's eccentrically loading and strengthening that tendon so I can push back up. Those are some of the progressions that you will see for the ankle. The other thing you can do with some of those to make that harder is put weights in your hands. I'm going to adjust the screen just a little bit. You can put some weights in your hands to make yourself have to push up with heavier weights. You can put yourself on unstable surfaces to eccentrically load. You can also Close your eyes. Anything like that that's going to make you kind of sense where your body is as you're eccentrically loading that tendon is only going to help you improve the resiliency in that area, so that when you're out playing basketball, when you're hiking, when you're dancing, or anything that's going to require stress through the ankle, that ankle is going to have the strength. The other joint I want to show you today is the knee. So let's talk about how we eccentrically load the patellar tendon. So I'm going to angle this back down a little bit so you can see my lower body. Okay, so our patellar tendon lies right here at the distal part of our knees below our kneecap. We run into some issues with runners in terms of patellar tendinitis or people having pain after sitting for long periods of time. So this is another muscle or a tendon, that you want to concentrically and eccentrically load. For eccentrically loading progressions, some things that you can think about or that you could try yourself. So when we think about a squat, you're going to get into your squat stance width. And then from here, as we load that tendon, as you sit down into your squat, we are placing eccentric load on this patellar tendon. So that tendon is lengthening but controlling our motion, making sure that there's not extreme pain. And then we're going to come back and concentrically load that area. Now, to make this a little bit harder, you're going to hold a weight out in front of your body, or you can put a weight in your back rack. I personally prefer when you're initially starting to work on some squatting stuff to hold it in front of your body, because it's going to serve as a counterweight to help you if I were to turn sideways. That weight's going to serve as a counterweight. Let me grab my little weight to push away from you. So you can see my weight here as I sit back into my squat and load that tendon. So in this position, I'm not letting my knees go forward, which is going to place a lot of stress on the tendon. I'm going to keep my hips back and the weight in front of me, and then from here I'm going to stand. So let's go through that one more time. You're going to hold your weight out in front of you. You're going to place your weight in your heels. You're going to sit back and you're going to go slow. This is going to load and strengthen and create resiliency in that patellar tendon. You're going to get to your bottom. You might pause for a second, and then you're going to come back up. Another progression I want to show you in loading the patellar tendon. Sorry, you can't see my face through any of this, but that's all right. You're going to use a step. So a lot of times we run into some anterior knee pain when we're going up or down stairs, but more commonly when we're going down, which is eccentrically loading this area. So say, for instance, I got my step. I'm going to turn this into an exercise, right? So concentrically, if I want to load this tendon, I'm going to step up. Then I'm going to come back down. So let's talk about the reverse of eccentrically. I'm going to start on top of the stool, the side that may be bothering me, but always do both sides. It's usually good. You're going to keep that leg on the ground or on your step. This leg is going to stick out in front of you. Now what you are going to try to reproduce is stepping down motion. So I'm going to control with my right leg coming down as my left leg lowers me down onto the ground, and then I walk through. So this would be an eccentric walk-through progression to help you become stronger and more resilient with less pain going downstairs. Let me show you on my left leg so we can go through it one more time. Your left leg's going to stay on the step. Your right leg's going to be off. I'm working on my left patellar tendon to eccentrically load it. So all my weight's on my left leg. I'm slowly lowering into a squat on that left leg. Might be a little shaky, that's okay. You're going to rock through, step down off your step. Now, if you don't want to do a step through, or if you don't have a step, let's just talk about how to eccentrically load in a single limb squat position. So I'll turn sideways for demonstration purposes, and we'll do my right leg. So I'm holding on to this counter with my left hand for stability and support. So I'm going to kick my left leg out in front of me. I'm going to sit my hips back, not forward. I'm going to load my heel of my right foot. And I'm going to sit down and back as I eccentrically load my right patellar tendon. So once again, we're going to sit back with the hips. Make sure your hips aren't coming forward and that knee's going forward like this. So it's not going to feel very good. I'm going to sit back, come to the depth where you feel comfortable, and come back up. Now, a progression from there would be to not hold on. You would just not have any support with the hands. You would kick that leg out, and then from there, you would go down, eccentrically load, come back up. You could go to a depth that you feel comfortable. It's not necessary to go all the way down to the floor. Back up just a little bit so you can see me. That's a motion that with CrossFitters would be known as a pistol squat. Takes a lot of control, a lot of core stability, control in the hips to come all the way to the ground and stand back up. So now if you're wanting to eccentrically load your patellar tendon, I don't recommend going all the way to the ground. Start in a higher range. Quarter squat. Maybe you're just starting here and you're just learning how to squat and how to practice sitting the hips back so that we don't get pain in the front of the knee. And then if you want to work on some of those progressions with the stool, any of the progressions with the ankle, the same thing applies to the elbow. There's lots of different ways that we can concentrically and eccentrically load and progress exercises with the elbow. So if you're running into any of these issues with your elbow, knee, ankle, common areas where we see some of these tendon issues, give us a call at Cornerstone. We would be more than happy to talk to you, to do an evaluation, to figure some of these things out with you and determine, yeah, we need to get some more strength in these areas to create more resiliency in your tendons so you don't keep running into this issue every time you go out and do XYZ activity, your knee flares up or your Achilles tendonitis starts hurting or plantar fasciitis flares up. It could be an issue of weakness. So with a lot of these areas, it's not a place where we stress a lot of stretching, but more strengthening. So give us a call at 828-684-3611. We'll be more than happy to talk to you. I hope everybody has a great day. And if you have any questions, we'll be here to help you answer them. Thanks.